coming up on this edition of Southwest TV News. As the legalization of marijuana takes effect on October 17th, motorists are being reminded that police agencies across the province will be on the lookout for impaired drivers. As the excitement builds for the 2019 Western Canada Summer Games in Swift Current, a number of test events for several sports are underway this summer. Recently, a triathlon was held at the Saskatchewan Landing, with numerous participants from across Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Alberta competing. Hot and dry conditions have been the main trend across the Southwest for the past several weeks. And now with harvest underway in many areas, crop reporters with Saskatchewan Agriculture are indicating producers in the area are on track with their work in the field. Thanks for joining us here today. Motorists are being reminded of the hazards of impaired driving, which also includes the use of marijuana. As the legalization of marijuana takes effect on October 17th, motorists are being reminded that police agencies across the province will be on the lookout for impaired drivers. The term impaired includes the use of alcohol and any form of drugs, including marijuana.
You know, it is illegal and will continue to be illegal to drive while impaired, and whether that is by drugs or alcohol, even once marijuana use becomes legal in Canada on October 17th of this year. We just want to get that message out there that impaired is impaired, and if that substance impairs you, any substance that alters your thinking, alters your reaction time, alters your ability to safely operate a motor vehicle, if you have been using anything, whether it's alcohol, prescription marijuana, prescription medicine, illicit drugs, you should not get behind the wheel if you are impaired by that substance.
And police across Saskatchewan are being trained to recognize the signs of impairment from drugs. At this point in time, there's 74 drug recognition certified officers in the province, with 20 to 40 new officers trained each year. And once pulled over by the police, if the officer has reasonable grounds to believe that you're impaired by any form of drugs, they can make a demand that you submit to an evaluation conducted by a drug recognition evaluator.
Now, these police officers are officers that undergo specialized, extensive training and use a rigorous, scientific 12-step procedure to determine whether someone is impaired. And if that person has been driving, then that can support an impaired driving charge.
And if you're caught driving impaired while under the influence of drugs or alcohol, you could face numerous fines, jail time, and even long-term driving restrictions. Therefore, by planning ahead and having a designated driver, you can help to keep the roads safe and avoid any hardship for yourself or others. Participants from across the prairies recently took part in a triathlon near Swift Current. We have more in this report. As the excitement builds for the 2019 Western Canada Summer Games in Swift Current, a number of test events for several sports are underway this summer. Recently, a triathlon was held at the Saskatchewan Landing, with numerous participants from across Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Alberta competing. And despite the inclement weather, which included periods of rain, participants made it through the entire event. Mark Lewis was one of the competitors from the Southwest, and after weeks of training with the Multisport Swim Club in Swift Current, he put his skills to the test at the Landing.
So the race I did was called the Sprint. It's sort of the longest race of today anyway. They have a super sprint, then a sprint, and a try. So the race is a 750-meter swim. Then you go for today it was about a 13 to 13.5 kilometer bike, 6 loops of the race, and then we had a 5K run through the park here.
And after years of competing in other triathlons, Mark says he tries to follow the same strategy each time.
Everyone tries to go out as quick as they can, and it's kind of however you've prepared for. A lot of people have never been in the lake before, and they learn pretty quick that you don't have the visibility you do in a pool, and you kind of get out of tempo and out of breath, and you can get in your own head. So to kind of just go at it with some consistency and plug away is probably your best bet, because usually the first 200 meters are more of a show than the race, because this is an endurance sport, and it's about kind of getting into some cadence and rhythm, and it's not necessarily who's the fastest guy out of the gate, who finishes fast.
And as the Western Canada Summer Games Committee continues to increase its core group of volunteers, several other test trials for various sports will take place before the 2019 event.
On August 18th and 19th, we have some road cycling test events that are going to happen in Swift Current and at Hazelet. And that will be it for this year. And then next spring, we'll do a couple more test events in mountain bike as well as in athletics.
1,700 athletes will meet in Swift Current next August for the 2019 Western Canada Summer Games, competing in 16 sports. Harvest is underway in many areas of the South. And in this report, we take a closer look at crop conditions with ongoing hot temperatures. Hot and dry conditions have been the main trend across the Southwest for the past several weeks. And now with harvest underway in many areas, crop reporters with Saskatchewan Agriculture are indicating producers in the area are on track with their work in the field.
So far in the province, we have about 1% combine and 2% that's swathed or ready to straight cut, and this is right on with our 5-year average for this time of year. In the Southwest, the harvest in the region is about 3% is now combined and 4% is swathed or ready to straight cut. So this is slightly ahead of our 5-year average, which would be 2% combined. So right now we've seen that crops are rapidly maturing just because of the heat and the lack of moisture, especially in that Southwest region. A lot of the crops and the quality of the crops very much so depends on whether or not they got hit by some of those scattered showers that went through. So we've seen yields that are from average to well below average in the area.
Meanwhile, hay crops are down this year due to the lack of moisture through the spring and summer season. And as producers make their way through the harvest season in the coming weeks, safety is in the spotlight due to the ongoing dry conditions.
With these very hot temperatures we're seeing, there's going to be a lot of producers going in the Southwest combining, and just make sure you're taking some extra fire precautions. Make sure that your extinguisher in the combine cab is up to date and works properly, and just keep an eye out for anything that could cause an issue.
The short-term weather forecast for Southwest Saskatchewan is calling for seasonal temperatures with no significant amount of rain. Well, this brings to a close another episode of Southwest TV News, reporting the stories that matter to you. We always welcome your news tips. You can always reach us here by phone at our studio or by email to contact us at southwesttvnews.com. Also, be sure to join us daily online for the latest news from across Southwest Saskatchewan and so much more at southwesttvnews.com. And be sure to follow us on a range of social media. Thanks for joining us here today. I'm Carol Andrews.